With just one game week left to play, 70 points was narrowly enough for another green arrow as we climbed up to 91k overall. Also, quick question before we get into the review. Next season, would you like to hear our real voices instead of AI narration? Let us know in the comments. Now let's get into the review. The move for Raya paid off as Arsenal secured a fourth consecutive clean sheet, while Brighton looked set for defensive returns until that costly Van Hecke error. Luckily, Justin's point off the bench came in handy with João Pedro missing out. Meanwhile, the midfield delivered once again as Saka's perfect corner was finished by Havertz. Bruno also matched the assist record with his 20th assist after Mbeumo converted his cross. However, despite Brighton creating plenty of chances, the ball simply wouldn't go in, while Cherki being benched again remained a big concern. Despite a quiet performance, Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored with his only shot of the game after taking advantage of a costly Van Hecke error. Meanwhile, Haaland still managed to grab a consolation goal against Bournemouth despite Manchester City losing the title to Arsenal. Overall, it was a decent week, but now it's time to look at our final transfer plans of the season ahead of the game week 38 deadline. We've got one free transfer and 0.1 million in the bank. With the title already wrapped up, Arsenal could heavily rotate ahead of their Champions League final against PSG. However, with only one free transfer available, and João Pedro carrying an injury doubt, replacing him is our main priority. We're considering a few options, and the first one is Igor Thiago. Despite blanking in his last two matches, Brentford are still fighting for European football, and this fixture against Liverpool's shaky defence could be the perfect time for him to deliver. The second option is Spurs' Richarlison, who has delivered returns in 3 of his last 4 matches, with 2 goals and an assist in that period. With the relegation battle still going down to the wire, Spurs only need a point to survive, and with injuries limiting the options around him, Richarlison could be a really interesting punt for the final game week. Another option worth considering is Bournemouth's Junior Krupi, who has scored 3 goals in his last 4 matches. Although Champions League qualification is still a long shot, Bournemouth may need a huge win while also hoping Liverpool lose against Brentford for things to swing their way. That makes Krupi an interesting high-risk punt for the final game week. As of now, we are leaning towards the Igor Thiago move. However, before the deadline, we could still consider taking a hit to move Saka to another option like Brentford's Dango Ouattara. So there are still plenty of decisions left to make ahead of game week 38. With the transfer plans sorted, let's take a final look at our squad this season ahead of the game week 38 deadline. It's David Raya in goal after Arsenal secured 4 straight clean sheets, while also restricting Burnley to just 0.19 xg. He now comes up against a Palace side with very little to play for, and one that could rotate heavily ahead of their Conference League final against Rayo Vallecano. Gabriel could also be rested for the final, but we're backing him to start as he closes in on Andy Robertson's record for the highest points total by a defender. Over the last 3 game weeks, only Van Hecke can match his 0.94 xg among defenders. Nico O'Reilly hasn't delivered recently, but he still ranks just behind Robinson with 0.67 xg among fullbacks in his last 3 matches. With a fixture against Villa, he could be back, especially with Villa expected to rotate ahead of their Europa League final against Freiburg, having already secured Champions League qualification. James Hill comes into the side after keeping 2 clean sheets in his last 3 matches. Bournemouth have also conceded just 4 big chances in their last 4 games, and no team has bettered that tally in that period. With the final push for Champions League qualification, they will need another strong defensive performance. Saka has returned 2 double-digit hauls in his last 4 matches, scoring once and providing 2 assists in that run. Although he may be benched or substituted early, he can still damage a heavily rotated Palace side. Pascal Gross could not register an assist last week, despite creating 4 chances against Leeds, with only Bruno Fernandes creating more. With the final push for European football at stake, his creative output could come in handy against Manchester United, which is a tough task on paper. The move for Ryan Cherki has backfired massively over the last few weeks due to his limited minutes. However, with nothing left to play for after last night's defeat, he could start against Villa, who are likely to rotate heavily with their focus on the Europa League final against Freiburg. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is in red-hot form, scoring in 3 consecutive matches. He has also scored 4 goals in his last 5 matches, a tally only Ollie Watkins has bettered. In that time, he has registered 2.43 expected goals, a total only Haaland, Watkins and Asula have bettered among forwards. Erling Haaland is in red-hot form, scoring in 5 consecutive matches. In that time, he has 4.59 expected goal involvement, a figure no forward can match. He has also taken 23 shots, the highest in that period. He now faces a Villa side with little to play for in the Premier League, with their focus on the Europa League final, so his form could continue. There's a slight chance Haaland could be benched, with the league already wrapped up, so we are going with Bruno Fernandes for the armband this week. He still has 1 game left to break the assist record, so he arguably has more to play for than others. Bruno has registered 11 assists in his last 10 matches and produced 5.38 expected assists in that time, a figure no player can match. He now faces a tough task against Brighton, who are still pushing for a European spot. How is your team shaping up for the final game week, and who are you captaining? Let us know in the comments. That's it for Game Week 38. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe for weekly FPL tips, smash the like button, and join our mini-league via the link in the description. You can also follow us on X and Instagram. We'll be sharing our final team before the deadline. Stay tuned, we'll be back next season with even more FPL content.